go to discernment, you may be able to live with the brothers just to have a taste of how it looks like. But eventually, you need to make that leap of faith, where sacrifices are required, where your life will change. And there are a lot of uncertainty, there are a lot of fear inside of it. I will play you another video about, I think you can just see first.
You take a drink with your friends, and somebody says, yeah, we should go skydiving tomorrow. And you go, yeah, we'll go skydiving tomorrow. Yeah, you go, yeah. Everybody goes, yeah. So then that night you're laying in your bed and you just get, and you're terrified. You keep imagining over and over again jumping out of an airplane. You can't figure out why you would do that. You wake up the next day and you go, down and you say where you were going to meet, and everybody's there. So you get in the van and you're like, oh my God. And your stomach is terrible. You can't eat and everything, but you don't want to be the only punk who doesn't jump out of this airplane. So you fly and you go up to 14,000 feet, and somebody opens the door, and in that moment you realize you've never been in a freaking airplane with the door open, and you're looking out down to death. And they say, on three. And they say, 1, 2, and he pushes you on 2 because people grab on 3, and you go, and you fall out of the airplane, and in 1 second, you realize that it's the most blissful experience of your life. You're flying. There's zero fear. You realize that the point of maximum danger is the point of minimum fear. It's bliss. Why were you scared in your bed the night before? What do you need that fear for? Everything up to the stepping out, there's actually no reason to be scared. It only just ruins your day. The best things in life on the other side of terror, on the other side of your maximum fear, are all of the best things in life.
What he said, the best thing is in life is what is behind that fear. But I kind of disagree when he said at the maximum, what they call danger is the is the zero fear. And I think, why is that so? Because there is someone that knows all the things that that going to happen and have that experience behind him, right? And I find that this is a very good examples to whatever things that we are called to do, that leap of faith that God asks us to do. Because eventually, there is someone behind us that knows everything, that helps us, protect us. And this is the same as going into vocation. It is scary, right? Being a religious life, it is scary. You do not know what's going to happen. How are you going to cope up? Whether you can do all the tests to become priest or whatever it is. All the things that you need to sacrifice, it is scary. Even it is scary to get married, to be faithful to this one person, and also take care of the children. Is it scary? Cannot say so loud, right? Yeah, it is scary. Even in the singlehood, not knowing that you choose not to have a relationship with anyone. How eventually, who will take care of you in the old age? It is scary. But knowing that God is behind all of that is the one that drives us to make that leap of faith. I do not know about you. I have this philosophy that for hobby, you don't risk your life. Don't risk your life for hobby. So I'm against like diving and all these things. But then I somehow drawn into not skydiving. I'm drawn into bungee jumping. And I do not know why is that so. But I think it's also because it is fast. Like then come back. But at the same time, I think it is the courage, that leap of faith that you take, right? If you are able to take that leap of faith, I think all of other things, there will be no fears that will become obstacles for you. I think that's at least for me, that applies for me. I do not want to do it alone. I need to have someone, and that's where the companionship of community is also very important, especially when you want to do the leap of faith for God. And I think the important things about this, when we make a leap of faith for God, the grace that God promised to each of us is much more as well. When you take that little step, God's grace is there to lead you. There will be that anointing, there will be that fruit of the Spirit. But when you do that leap of faith, it will even much more grace that is being poured out. Because as you make that sacrifice, God, as a compassionate God, is really leading you along that way. And that's where it is when we are asked to do this leap of faith, we are asked to depend on God. Like it will not be easy, but when we depend on God, everything will just fall into it. We just do our part, and God will do His part as well. I take this quote from Saint Louis Marie de Montfort. If we do not risk anything for God, we will never do anything great for Him. And that's why all vocations are very scary. That we need to take risks. And that's why vocation please God. And that's why vocation brings you to God, to depend on God. And when we know, when we have that trust in God, that dependence on God, it will be easy to be generous. Because we know God is holding us. When we have that trust in God, it is easy to be generous. So, basically this is the whole things that, the summary of the teaching. If you have been sleeping all this while, you can just see this slide. And hopefully that makes sense. But I think as identity, I mentioned that our identity is the child of God, and that's where we need to learn about that self-love, that self-affirmation, shame, resilience. This is from the previous two series. Then how we get to the vocation. These three things is what we call discernment. I don't want to use the word because when we heard about discernment, everything shut up. We just like think that, okay, I have known about this, so that's why I put YOLO 1, YOLO 2, YOLO 3. And we are called to vocations where we are called to depend on God in intimacy, in the community, with whatever that our vocation may be, if married life with our spouse, with our children, and eventually the generativity that we may impact other people's life. Anyone has not watched this, so that I will not. Those who have watched.
Only the one with children will never.
That's the sacrifice. No worries. Are you planning to watch?
Yes, we are planning.
Okay. I will try to make it so blur that you will not understand what is. There will be no spoiler. This person, eventually he gets that one. This is the one chance. Or for me, when I think about that, you only live once. This scene actually comes to my mind directly. That there is that one, and you know what's happened after this. You know what are all the things, for those who watch, you know what happens after this. You know all of the things that they do that eventually impact all of the peoples there. And today, Jesus also has that.
Where?
Okay, like actually like 4 like that lah.
Jesus find number one. No.
Oh, only young adults can see this.
Think deeper young adults.
And the same thing that today Jesus wants to tell us, that you have this one life, and what you are supposed to respond. I hope it is the same things that what the other people respond in the movie. It is that life that impacts other people, that you choose to have your life involving God and make impact to the people around you. So that's kind of the conclusion of this. However, it's still 9:28. No, not however. I would like us to reflect on our lives, in which what are the things that you feel God is calling you to? Is it the first one where you need to look into your lives and to take that step back to see how have you been doing with your life? How are your relationship with God? And you might want to stop and reconnect with God, because you might be busy with all of the things that in your life that take away your focus from God. Or maybe God is calling you to the second step, where you started to need to take that step by step involving God along the way. Bring God into whatever things, whatever opportunities that comes to your way, so that eventually you can achieve the end result. Or maybe you are on the last one, which is that leap of faith, that God is calling you for that leap of faith, to do something that eventually you might need to sacrifice on the things, but God promised that His grace is much more stronger, much more powerful than all of the things that is your obstacle, that is your fear. So I will leave you 10 minutes with this, just to reflect on your own and make a choice eventually, and we will later on have some prayer